Alright guys, I always find these interesting and helpful, so I figured I would do a pack dump. I just got back yesterday from a 6-day backcountry DIY OTC Colorado elk hunt. So close, video coming out soon. But I just wanted to literally dump my pack with you, show you kind of what I brought and why I brought it, and we'll start with that. So from the ground up, I guess, we'll start with what's on the table. I got the crispy Valdress Plus GTX. These did really good for me this week. They're filthy. I cannot wait to recondition these. It was not as cold this year, so I went thinner on socks. Literally, I just got back. This stuff is disgusting. These are Ascend merino wool socks. I either wear those, Darn Tough, Icebreaker, some sort of merino wool sock. For my bino harness, I got the marsupial gear with the rangefinder pouch. The rangefinder, I got a Vortex Crossfire HD tethered with a Bass Pro lanyard. This thing was $3. I got it at the last minute because my other one broke. What's in the pouch in the front? I had some of my calls, as well as I did bring a field point tip because we shot target once we got back there. On the left side here, I got my wind finder. Dust in the back pocket. I got my license, as well as just a little razor blade, a utility razor blade for pretty much anything, just quick access, and also a lens cloth. On the right side, I had my call. This is an external reed cow call, and also had kind of a multi-tool for anything that may come up with my bow. All right, so that is what was on my chest the entire time. Now we'll kind of switch over to the pack. This thing was big, so I got just starting with the pack, I got the Kuiu LT 5500. This thing did me more than enough for the 6 days we were out there. From the side pocket, I always kept my Renegade bugle tube. I had a 1 liter smart water bottle. I think I carried, at any time I had the capacity to carry 5 liters. Didn't always do that because of weight, but I had the capacity. We'll kind of get to that. Nothing else in the bottom there, there's some trash from the trip. On the other side, utility pockets, I did strap this seat pad to the side the whole time. This is actually what I use saddle hunting whitetail to put my knees up against the tree, so that stayed with me. This kind of acted as my glassing pad, and then also kind of a doormat to my tent. Also had my Lecky trekking poles. These are the Legacy lights. I have a lightweight trekking pole tent, so these are critical for me even if I don't use them hiking. So those will go there as well. That was on the right side. Also had an extra trash bag for various reasons there. On the absolute bottom, on these compression straps, because of quick access, I always keep my First Light Brambler gaiters on the bottom. Put those with the boots. And then I also have my rain gear very quickly accessible from the bottom. You can see it's dirty this year. It was dusty. It was drier this year than it has been in the past. Did not use this rain gear one time, but have to have it. This is the REI Rainier rain jacket. I really like it. Lightweight, and it seems to breathe really well. What I dropped was something I found kind of last minute, but I was really excited about these. These are Drake waterfowl, ultralight, breathable, packable into its own pocket rain pants. So that was my rain gear. Again, did not use that, but it was readily accessible via the compression straps on the bottom. If we go into my waist pack, on the right side, I kept some quick access stuff. So for me filming my hunt this year, which I do every year, I had batteries and an SD card, and nothing else on that side. On the left side, I did not have a holster underneath my bino harness or anything, so my Glock 9mm was in my left side. Not really worried about too much in Colorado, but I do have that if I need it. Also had some random charging cables in there. Most of that stowed somewhere else. One of the biggest things I liked this year that I added was this Stone Glacier Nalgene pouch on the right side. So that's just quick access water. So again, I had the Smart Water bottle, which is a liter, 32 ounce Nalgene, which is almost a liter, and then a bladder, which we'll get to. But that's the waist belt. Up top, the right strap, I have the Peak Design clip, camera clip, and then on the left side, I have my GoPro. All right, going to the top up here. Again, for quick access, I have a tarp. I also have Dude wipes. You guys know what that's for. As well as my poop shovel and some toiletries. This is a to-go toothbrush with deodorant and some toothpaste. Also had a walkie-talkie this year. When I wasn't in use on my bino harness, I kept it in the top of the pack for quick access. That was really clutch this year when me and the boys split up glassing. So that's all that's in the top hood. Full pack, also on the outside. This was usually actually attached to my hip, but this is just the Garmin InReach. All right. Up top, flipped over under the hood, had two pieces of layering clothing that I really liked this year. It was my first time running these. What I had was, this is the KUIU Kenai vest. This thing was awesome. It's really quiet. I like the positioning of the pockets because I could still get to them with my hip belt. A lot of times I could just wear my base layer and this vest. I've never tried a vest really, but this was super clutch this year. It prevented me from other layers I would have in the past. This year I also ran the First Light. This is the, which puffy is this? This is the Brooks Down Puffy. Went with the gray. I really like this too. Since I would usually wear that when it was colder in the pockets, I had a First Light neck gaiter as well as some KUIU, I think these are attack gloves maybe. They're a fleece lined glove. I really like this. You can see that I'm not really super loyal to any one brand. I really just like to try them all out and see which I like the best. So kind of switching it up, mixing it along this trip. On the left side of the pocket also had the First Light Merino beanie. So really between a base layer, the vest, and this puffy, I was pretty much one the whole time. So that stayed in the top for quick access. On the front pouch right here, also kept some quick access stuff. So I had my battery brick. This thing is, forgot the brand of it, an Anchor. Yeah, an Anchor, and this works really well. It supplies me for my whole trip. I tried to consolidate any charging cables I would need, USB, USB-C phone cable, have an extra rangefinder battery, and then also a really lightweight extra battery bank. But again, have not needed that so far. This Peaks Duo headlamp. I've been seeing this. It was legit. Brightest red light. We really didn't use a white light until the last night when we were hiking all the way back to the truck, which was 17 miles. Stupid. But over 6 days, this thing never even got dull. Really impressed with the Peaks Backcountry Duo headlamp. I did have the Nightcore as a backup. This was my primary last year. Did not have to use that. This year I brought a little leather journal. I kept up with it. It has 45 pages in it so far, and I actually fell behind. There's 2 more nights I have to capture in that, but I'm looking forward to doing that this year. Also, inside these zipper pockets in here, I kept my wallet, and that was all that was in the front pouch. So, there's one more pocket on the front actually. And in this quick access zip, this actually doesn't go into the main compartment, it's just a front compartment. So I did have an extra mid layer. This is the First Light Origin hoodie. I only wore this one day and I just wore it over a base layer. I did not have to use this as a mid layer the entire time. I also keep some extra stuff in here, extra pair of Darn Tough socks. I keep my bottom base layer in here somewhere. It's probably in a dirty bag. I carry 2 pairs of underwear every year, 1 pair of merino, 1 pair of polyester. I usually switch halfway through the week. And I also carry 2 base layer tops. This is the QU, I think this is a 145 hood Q-zip. I take basically 2 of those, either QU or First Light merino base layer, and I'll wear one during the day. When it comes to nighttime, I'll change into another one, wear it while I sleep, and that way it's warm. I can keep it on the next morning when I go. Again, icebreaker merino socks. I take 3 pairs of socks, 2 top base layers, and then everything else doesn't have a backup. So again, those extra clothes stayed in that front pouch. There they are. There's the First Light base layer bottoms. These are the Kiln, so they are the 250s. So my nighttime routine, I change socks, put the base layer on, change tops, and then if it's cold in the morning, I'll keep these on. If I know we're gonna be active chasing bulls, then I'll pull them off when I wake up. That's all the clothes. All right, so that's everything on the outside, I believe. I did bring this year. This is just a collapsible cup because I brought some oatmeal, and that was really good. Rarely had time to do oatmeal in the mornings, but. All right, so the main compartments. One thing I did this year, well actually let me get something off the top. This is a dry bag. I always kept my water type stuff in the dry bag. This is a 3-liter platypus bladder, and the Catadine, I'm probably saying that wrong. I thought it was after the mountain at the top of the Appalachian Trail, but I'm not sure it is. This pump was clutch this year. I never had a dirty bladder, always pumped clean into everything I had, the outlet hose from that. But that just stayed in this First Light medium dry bag so that there was no chance any water was gonna ruin anything in my pack, because that sucks. One thing that I saw, oh, actually there's one more thing on the side. Again, quick access, this is just a pack cover. This is the KUIU pack cover for this pack. There's the last day of food that I didn't eat on the top. So real quick, just before I undo this, my methodology here was I kept all my food on the bottom, and then last in, first out was the methodology I packed with my sleeping stuff every night. So the last thing I would pull out to sleep every night was my sleeping bag. So on top of the day's food, that's on top of all my food supply, the sleeping bag went in first, and then the other things like my pillow, my air mattress, my pillow, my blow up pad, and then my tent. So the first thing I pulled out was on the top, last thing I pulled out was on the bottom. That's the way I packed it every morning. And then as my pack was empty in the mornings, I would bring the next day of food up to the top of my pack and leave it in the hood for quick access. So pretty dialed as far as my packing. This is a kind of an all bag, all accessory bag. It had my MSR Pocket Rocket Deluxe 2 with my titanium cup. Some extra wipes, mainly for my hand. I did bring extra fuel, even though I didn't need it this year. This is also like an extras bag. It had paracord, extra wind checker, it had my spoon, it had an extra release, it had some extra paracord, extra D-loop, because you never know if your D-loop pops out there, a couple of extra lighters, and then I did bring salt, pepper, garlic as a good mojo for us to kill. Again, came super close. That video is gonna come out. Some paracord, again, I'm not sure why I brought that much paracord. And that's pretty much it. This is just kind of an all-in-one pouch to hold extras and cooking gear. I really like those. Got those off Amazon. So, all right, before we dive into the pack and this gear, one thing I saw a couple years ago on a pack dump, I believe it was Zach Fehrenbaugh from Hunting Public. He lined his entire stub bag with a yard bag. And I was like, that's brilliant, because not only do you have the protection from the bag, from everything inside, from weather, you also have the pack cover, and then everything inside is covered with this. So I just used that. I thought it was genius, and I went with it this year. There's some extra food that's disgusting at this point. I got this is Alps Mountaineering Versa pillow. This thing was like 20 bucks and super clutch every night. One thing I did find is that I don't like it all the way puffed up. I like it a little squishy. This is a first aid survival kit, so I guess I will talk briefly through what's in this. I rarely have to use anything in here. If anything, it's Band-Aids for getting blisters. I did bring some red shop towels. I grew up with these. My dad was a diesel mechanic, so we always had these. And I did get a nosebleed this year, which was kind of strange, and that was that came in clutch one night. Moleskin, KT tape, hand warmers, electrical tape, some ibuprofen, some nausea medicine, stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. I really rarely break into this, but it's there if you need it. That's the whole purpose, right? All right, getting into the good stuff. So again, Thermarest NeoAir X Lite pad. I did have a Thermarest pump as well this year, and so I would basically get that thing started a little bit and then finish it blowing with my mouth. So I really, really like this pad. It's insulated too. For my sleeping bag, I have I'm not gonna unpack it, but this is the Durston X-Mid 2. This is the older version. The newer version's a little light, but I actually like the older version much better. I've got my stakes in here too. But I got the 2P tent, and it's plenty of room for me in there. That's kind of why I got it. And I like the vestibules on each side, allow me to store my bow and my pack at night. Here is the sleeping bag again. So I just free float this in there and stuff it down into the compartments as tight as possible. This is a Marmot 40-degree bag, 800 downfill, and the absolute, so the I don't know why it said 40 degree. The comfort rate is 23 degrees, the extreme rate is negative 24 degrees Fahrenheit, and the limit is 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So I guess it's more of a 22-degree comfort bag. This thing, I've had it in 2 seasons out there backpack style and never even come close to getting cold. But again, you can see how big it is. I don't like to put it in its stuff sack because I feel like that takes up too much room. So because of this thing's ability to pack, I just free float it down in there and stuff it. I'm gonna drop that down. So again, at the bottom was everyday's food. This is all my trash. One thing I do, so I'm a nutrition coach, a performance nutrition coach. And one thing that I like to do is I get really dialed on my macros. So we can do another video on that, but I think my fats were 140. My protein was about body weight 170, and my carbs were upwards of 380 to 400. So it was like 3,400 calories a day. I try to limit, I vacuum seal everything and try to limit the wrappers. I take everything out of the wrappers as much as possible, but whatever trash I do have, I keep. And again, all the food was in the bottom. This was an extra half day if we needed to stay in longer. You can see it's still vacuum sealed really well and holding. And then I have my game bags in the very bottom. Really want to use those someday. But that's everything. I went and bought a pillow, freaking out the last night before I left. That's where I got the Alps Mountaineering. But before that, I had this Outdoor Vitals pillow that I couldn't find. And of course, when I get out there, I find it. So that's how it works, right? So that's everything. That's the pack. She needs to go air out really bad. All right, last I'll tell you my bow setup. So I am using the Scott Shark 2 release. This is a dual jaw release. I really like this. My arrow setup is a Maxima Red 350. It's got white blazer vanes with a white wrap. And I used to run lighted nocks, and I probably will go back to them for whitetail, but these green nocks that are just solid fit, I don't know, they seem to fit the arrow better and my string better, so I really like those. And then I've got the G5 Montec, tried and true. I like the fact that I can resharpen these and make them as sharp as I want. Total arrow weight with a 100 grain broadhead was around 444, I think. But I really like this arrow setup. So the bow I'm shooting is a Prime Inline 3. And it has, I switched sights this year, so I have the Hamskea Epsilon Rest. I've got, I believe this is an 8 or 10 inch Shrewd front stabilizer, no rear stabilizer. And I did not run the quick stand out there this year. I like to keep it on while I'm shooting at home sometimes, but as it got towards the trip, I took it off so that I would be able to practice reps with the actual weight. I do keep the quiver on, I keep 5 arrows in there. I did switch sights this year. I've got the CBE Trek Pro Micro 3V. I really like the 3-stack inline picture. Last year I had the black gold dual track, which is the inline 2-pin. And with just the nature of elk, how far they can be and how quickly they can move distances, and shoot, even though I'm hunting whitetail 90% of the time, I really like the fact that I have 3 pins. So the way I keep this is set at 30, 40, 50, and I know my holdovers and unders enough to shoot from 15 yards to 60 yards roughly. So I really like that setup. It allowed me a lot of variation without having to move the slider at all. So that's the bow. I really like it a lot. It shoots fast and accurate for me, and it fits me really well, even in a tree stand, with it being the 33-inch axle to axle. So that's everything. That's the pack dump. I guess some things I left out over there that I'm looking at on the ground. As far as my pants, I wore the King's Camo Preacher pant. They do come with knee pads, but I take them out, and then it comes with side hip vents. So that's everything out of the pack, and it did me really well. My food was about $40 a day at just under 2 pounds. So through the end of the trip, I guess I lost about 11 pounds of pure food weight. I did find this shed. This probably took up 2 to 3 pounds. It's probably a year and a half old. It was pretty bleached and chewed up at the top, but I found this at the top of a knob after I had just got on a bull. I went back up to try to get on him again, and I found some beat down game trails up there, and this was laying on it. So great trip to Colorado this year. Already can't wait to go back. But again, I always find these helpful. If you guys see anything that I need to improve on, or that you can suggest, or that you have questions for any of this stuff, let me know. I'm not affiliated with anything, so I will give more than fair answers to my entire setup. So it was a great trip. Everything, all of my gear performed extremely well. I was very, very happy with all my selections. I believe I used pretty much everything except some extra batteries and the extra headlamp. But again, I feel like it's necessary to have that stuff. It's like less than a pound. So pretty dialed after 3 years of doing it. I was really happy with it. And this allowed us to stay with the elk and camp anywhere at the drop of a hat. So we camped as we moved, didn't go back to a base camp or anything. So 2024 elk OTC Colorado trip is done. This was the gear that helped me do it. 2 things I forgot, one of which I really liked. I like this Mountain Hardwear trail hat this year. Provided really good breathability. And then inside of one of the pockets of my pack, I had my kill kit. It was an Outdoor Edge knife. Let me get to it. Oh, there it is. I did bring extra blades, as well as this saw. So that was on the inside, and like a multi-tool. And I think that's pretty much everything now. Some Ray-Ban sunglasses, but that kind of includes the whole kit. Appreciate you guys for checking it out.